Hey, y'all need a break. Listen to these stories from r/AskReddit. What is the most infuriating case of double standards you've come across? In work, if I am 5 minutes late, they will certainly let me know about it. But if I stay behind 15 minutes later than my finish, not even a mention. Edit. Since this comment blew up, I'll give you a story that relates this problem to the downfall of a company, paraphrasing my own version of the story. So, there was a person who worked for a company. This person did all their work, and the work of some others, which in turn was keeping the company afloat. Now, this person does not do this for any particular reason other than they are a good worker and doesn't really receive any praise, maybe a thank you here and there, from management. One day, this person has had to come in late, and as soon as they enter the building and clock in, they get a text message from their boss asking them to see the boss. So they see the boss, and the boss says, "We have a zero-tolerance policy on lateness. If you are late again, you will be fired." The person tries to defend themselves by bringing up all the extra work they do, but the boss replies, "You were not asked to do those things, but you are required to be on time." So the person decides they will only do what is asked of them from now on. Now things are starting to go wrong and the company is behind on certain contracts. This person continues to do only what is asked of them, and eventually the company goes under. The moral here is to recognize the good and bad of your employees. One comment that only focuses on a negative situation without any mention of the extra good that the person has done can be incredibly costly. But by just saying, "You should not be late, but I do appreciate the extra work you do, we can work something out," can save you in the long run. My personal experience. I was about 8 months pregnant. My cousin's girlfriend was about 7 months pregnant. We were all at my aunt's house. My cousin's girlfriend, let's call her Christy, had a reputation of being not very bright, but also very arrogant. She insisted that it was perfectly fine to smoke during her pregnancy, because the baby's lungs were not developed yet. Wow. Just wow. No matter what evidence my aunt showed Christy, she stuck with her stubborn, selfish belief. She smoked cigarettes up until 6 months pregnant, and smoked pot from a street drug dealer up until the car ride to the hospital to deliver. She also drank 2 alcoholic beverages a day. We all suspected possibly more. We were all appalled, but there was nothing we could do to stop her. I had not said one thing to her about it, because it just wasn't my place to. My aunt had said enough. On the other hand, I completely gave up alcohol. I never smoked, all coffee, caffeine, getting my hair and nails done, sushi, and everything that my midwife said could possibly cause harm to the unborn baby. I even switched to a natural deodorant. Back to my aunt's house. My aunt had come back from a store with sub hoagies, fresh deli meats, and cheese. We all started making ourselves subs, except for Christy, who was busy smoking a blunt in the bedroom. As I was eating my turkey sandwich, Christy comes out from the bedroom, high as a kite, looks at me dead seriously, and says, "You're not supposed to be eating that. Deli meat is unsafe for the baby." It took every ounce of energy in my body to not hurl myself screaming in her face. 35 years ago, and it still pisses me off. I got detention in high school, no biggie. I did the crime. However, I was scheduled to work, so I asked for detention to be delayed for 1 day. Request denied. I pointed out that football players routinely had theirs rescheduled to accommodate games and practice. Only answer I got was, "That's different." When I was about 16, my dad, a Baptist missionary pastor, once preached a 2-hour sermon on the perils of pornography, and how absolutely evil it was, gotta save yourself from marriage, etc. He had also beaten the crap out of me for catching me with porn a couple months prior. That same night when we got home from church, he asked me to bring him his phone that he'd left in the car. I opened it to find months of daily porn watching in his internet history. LMAO. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I've always wanted to say that, haha, thank you all for the support, and thanks for the rewards, kind strangers. Bro, ain't there no way. You confronted him, right? Oh hell yeah, I did, LOL. At the dinner table the next day, my mom asked me why I was giving my dad such attitude. I said, "Oh, maybe you should ask Dad about his internet history," and when he played dumb and asked what I was talking about, I asked him if "wet slutty Asians in the shower" rang any bells. Did not end well for either of us, but the look on his face made it worth it, haha. One of the regional managers goes to state prison for over a year for driving while intoxicated. If you know anything about Texas DWI laws, that means he got caught multiple times. Comes out of prison, immediately transferred to corporate and made a director. Brand new employee is rear-ended in stop-go traffic on the highway. No injuries, but forced to take a drug test. Fails for weed, immediately fired. If there's any issue big or small at daycare or school, they call the mom first. My dad literally worked in the school I went to and was one of my teachers, and for the first year I was there, they always called my mom. Like, he's literally in his planning period right now, just walk 6 doors down and ask him. When I was a school nurse, I was always alone with whatever children needed assistance, even after I would ask for help. New male school nurse started, all of a sudden 3 other people are available just to watch him. I felt terrible for the guy, but literally no one trusted him with the diabetic kid or the kid with the trach alone. Oh, he can't be alone. But me, a woman, was never questioned. Double standards abound. Most male bathrooms don't have baby changing stations. My boyfriend had complained about this. Someone once came up and suspiciously asked him what he was doing at his car while he was changing his daughter's diaper on the back seat. He told them there was no changing station in the men's room and he wasn't going to change her diaper on the floor of a public bathroom. My high school English teacher would hear something even remotely phone-like and explode. Whose phone is that? If no one answered right away, she would pace the desks, and if anyone acted suspicious, she would have them empty their pockets, bags, etc. on the desk. If there was a phone, she confiscated it. If there were any unread notifications, she would read them aloud. But, every now and again, she would do her whole explosion, then glance down and giggle and say, "Oh, it's my phone," and then text away. Also, she was a terrible English teacher. For purposes of this story, I have 2 little brothers. They do not share mothers. We were eating breakfast with the mother of one of them. The other one is a picky eater. He has issues with texture, but he never complains, just powers through as best he can. She got up to get coffee, and they traded plates. Her bio son had almost cleaned his, and her stepson had eaten about half, before the trade. Then they both got up and took their plates to her like they'd finished, and she accepted them both as done. You see, when her bio son says he's full, she believes him. When her stepson says he's full, she doesn't. So they made it look like the step had eaten more because they knew the bio's plate would be accepted in any condition. I never told them that I know they did this, and probably have for a while, but I love that they figured a way around her double standards. A girl I dated in high school would often vent to me about her friends' boyfriends doing the same things she would do to me. For example, we'd see each other every weekend. She wanted to see me more often, but we lived 40 minutes from each other, gas was expensive, I was broke, and I had homework and extracurriculars, so I was busy during the week. She got mad and angrily told me to let her know when I cared enough to pencil her into my calendar. Not too much later, she was on the phone with me, telling me how her friend's boyfriend said the same thing to her friend and what an a-hole he was for it. When I called her out, she just made up some crap about how our situation was different. When we bought our house, my wife set up all the utilities. I'm on the spectrum. I really hate dealing with that stuff, bills, money. I go to work and earn the money, she does the budgeting and makes sure everything gets paid. It's crazy to me how often a company will have to have me get on the phone to make a change or whatever, on an account that she set up. I'm the husband, so I must be in charge of the finances. The youth minister at the church I attended told my girlfriend's parents that I did drugs and that she should break up with me. Which she did. It really made buying drugs from that guy awkward. Does anyone have a link to the story of a guy whose child almost got kidnapped? If I remember correctly, it was a story where a man was waiting for his wife outside a store with their child in a stroller. A woman just walks up, screams that he's kidnapping her child, grabs the stroller, and calmly walks off. The man got tackled and beat by everyone there, to the point of having broken ribs, and all the while he was screaming that the baby was his and she was the kidnapper. It was only stopped because the wife came out and confronted the woman, who just calmly let go of the stroller and walked off without anyone stopping her. When the police got there, the husband was reprimanded for looking suspicious. I went to a small Bible college where we had to sign a contract promising not to drink or have premarital intercourse while enrolled there. At one point a couple was caught having intercourse, the guy was put on some sort of light probation. Of course he was still able to play on the school's basketball team, and the girl was immediately expelled. When I was a sophomore, a group of freshman girls all decided to go around racking guys because they thought the reactions were hysterical. I made it very clear if any of them did that to me, I would slap the crap out of them. Lo and behold, after several other guys were hit and nothing done, one of them surprised me in the hallway and racked me. I promptly slapped her across the face and was sent to the principal's office by a female teacher who witnessed the whole thing. Thankfully, the principal was more understanding and just sent me back to class. Still, whole thing pisses me off over a decade later. Edited to add, when I say racking, I mean slapping, or otherwise hitting someone in the testicles for no other purpose than to cause pain. Probably known under many different phrases or names, but that is what we know it as. Where I grew up in Texas, also sack tap, but racking was the phrase that first came to mind. Senior year in high school. The football team got brand new uniforms, gear, and buses for tournaments paid for by the school. They had the only bus with AC and window tinting, and nice Alcoa rims, reserved for their use only. They even canceled a couple elective classes my senior year to free up money for the team. The girls' softball team had to do year-long fundraisers to pay for everything, down to the softballs, uniforms, and chartering buses for tournaments. So that year, the football team won one game, in preseason, lost every other game. The girls' softball team went to, and won their division at the state level. Oh, and the star boys' baseball player got busted with marijuana on campus for the third or fourth time, was told to sit out 2 games, he could pick which ones, not even detention. Meanwhile, shortly later another kid, a loner, got busted with marijuana once, and got expelled, had to take summer school to advance to the next grade. Priorities. My school had boys' club and girls' club campouts on the same weekend. Boys' club, campground, decent food but several boxes of it was completely rotten. We ate fine though, there was plenty of food, tents and hammock camping, overall pretty good campout. Girls' club, they rented a massive log cabin. Super nice, comfortable beds, hot tubs, the works. To be fair, I preferred the actual camping trip over their Airbnb vacation, but it was supposed to be a camping trip. Funny thing is, a lot of girls that went were actually pissed they didn't get to go camping lol, not a majority but a few were close friends and they were not happy. When I worked for a supermarket in the UK that rhymes with bait rose, I bleached my hair. I'm a man. They ordered me to cut it all off, then changed my shift to be an outdoor trolley collector. And I had to wear a hat. The person who told me to do this had bleached blonde hair. They were not a man. When I passed my driving test, I had about 3 years no claims bonus with motorbikes that no insurer would let me use for a car. I guess it makes some amount of sense because they're different vehicles of different sizes with different risks. What makes absolutely no sense is how having my motorbike stolen should negatively impact my premiums for car insurance when the difference in stealing a bike versus a car is vastly different and I was living at a completely different address in another city. Yet I'm still forced to pay increased premiums for 5 years. If having a bike stolen is relevant to increasing car insurance premiums, how is riding one safely for 3 years not relevant to reducing them? Insurance is an effing racket. My daughter and I have some things that have become tradition. We always go to Starbucks before school on Fridays, we like to go eat sushi for lunch on Tuesdays when she gets out of school early and we usually go just the 2 of us. I get all kinds of dirty looks, because people assume that a 45-year-old guy who's out with a beautiful young woman, 16 going on 25, is some sort of lecherous monster. It sucks, but I've been learning to brush it off. When my dad lit up cigarette number 2 of 3 during a 20-minute talk about the dangers of smoking and how he'd kick my butt if I ever started. Meanwhile, I had asthma and chronic bronchitis from all the secondhand smoke in the house. Middle-aged woman I used to work with was always complaining about her son-in-law, and one day she was complaining to me and saying how he doesn't clean her daughter's car off when it snows, and that is something the man should be doing, and I responded with, sure, but how would you feel if he said the same thing about dishes and being something the woman should do? She paused and then said she never thought of it that way lol. Had an opportunity to go to Montreal on a work trip. It was supposed to be a reward for those employees who had just finished a major project. My boss calls me into her office and tells me she knows I played the biggest role in the project on the team, but that she's sending our female summer student, who hardly touched the project, instead because we needed to show company diversity at the conference and there were too many males going. Got written up for wearing nice shorts to work. In an IT position. No customer-facing roles at all. My female manager and all other women in the company were permitted to wear any type of dress or skirt. My manager always wore her athletic skirt she worked out in. It was less than knee length. FU, Black Hills Energy. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.